Okay.
Baseball barbecue listeners, we've got a very special guest joining us. She is the owner and operator of the legendary LC's Barbecue in Kansas City. She's not just carrying on a family business, she's carrying on a legacy. She is the granddaughter of barbecue icon L.C. Richardson. From the age of 12, she grew up in the pit, well, in the restaurant, not eventually in the pit, carrying on a legacy. She learned the craft firsthand, and now she keeps one of Kansas City's most beloved barbecue institutions firing on all cylinders. Beyond the smoke and sauce, she's a business leader, community advocate, and a perfect example of how tradition and innovation can live side by side. If you love barbecue, history, and the stories behind great food, you are going to love this conversation. Our guest is Tausha Hammett. She is the granddaughter of L.C. Richardson and the owner of L.C.'s Barbecue. And we welcome her to the Baseball and Barbecue Podcast.
Thank you so much.
It's great
Welcome,
to have
Tausha.
you.
I'm excited to be here.
And with us, he was responsible for to helping to get you on, and we appreciate that very much. It's our friend of the show. He's like family to us. It's Chef Ray Sheehan. He is the guest co-host, and as guest co-host, and since you are so close to the stadiums, you must know a little bit about baseball or maybe more. So Ray is going to throw out the first pitch.
Tasha, for listeners who may not know the full story, can you share what LC's barbecue means to Kansas City and what it's meant to your family all these years?
Absolutely. My grandfather founded LC's Barbecue in 1986. Um, he is the man when it comes time to a palate. He created his own sauce, his own seasoning, his own recipes. So everything that is served today was created and invented by his own palate. Um, we have been known as a community staple for my whole life. We are well known for our burnt hens and our baked beans and our French fries. Our French fries are homemade. Our baked beans are the trifecta. They have our sauce and our meat in there, so you get our seasoning and our sauce. And we have people that travel from all over the world to come and stop by. Kansas City being the barbecue capital of the world, it's we have certain standards that we have to stand up to, and my grandfather was impeccable when he put all of his blood, sweat, and tears into LC's barbecue.
Tasha, Len and I went to Kansas City a few years ago, and we did not stop at LC's. We did not know about it. We only had like 2 days there, so we couldn't get to all the places we wanted to go. But I'm doing some research on LC's, and I'm looking. You mentioned the baked beans, and those look delicious. I saw a recipe being made. Tell us about this three-tier pit that's in the restaurant because I've never seen anything like that before.
That is what makes my grandfather probably, if not the best person in Kansas City, one of the top three for sure. People travel from all over to see that pit. He started with this little smoker outside, and he had three little bar stools, and the backside of the building was a liquor store. And when that gentleman finally sold the liquor store in 1991, and that became our seating area. It allowed my grandfather to use his mind in ways that nobody ever even imagined. And so by him bringing this three-tier $100,000 pit inside of this restaurant, you walk in and you smell the aroma like it hits you. And honestly, I've had people tell me they've come to our location because they smelled the smoke from miles away.
That is that is unbelievable. Tasha, your grandfather, one of the things he said about a successful business, or maybe you said it, uh, but was location. Yeah, I think you had said it. That somebody asked you, tips for a successful restaurant, and you said location. Now you are in a perfect location for lovers of the Kansas City Chiefs, although they're going to be moving. We won't
Yes,
talk about that. And the Kansas City Royals. So that
absolutely.
so you must get a lot of those fans in there. Uh, and what do they like to do? They get sandwiches to go?
Absolutely. It was so much of a want that we ended up getting our sauce and our seasoning in the airport for people that wanted to make sure that they were able to get it on the plane with them. And I'll say it took me well into my adulthood to give my grandfather his props. I am so glad he was alive for me to be smart enough as an adult to understand. I always question the location because of the limited population of employees. It took me going to get a business degree and then even furthering my education with my master's to understand like that was the prime real estate. Like that location is, like you said, up maybe 7 minutes from the Royals and the Chiefs. But if you go another 10 minutes, we have the Plaza. And if you add another five to that, we have P&L, which is an upcoming district. And then if you even add 13, subtract two, we have Westport. So, in all of Kansas City's popular locations for attractions, events, visitors, my grandfather is in the heart of it, where he's located at now.
Now you know, Kansas City, is one of those things. You could throw a rock in Kansas City and hit a barbecue place.
Yeah,
So for you to stand out as a champion among pretty damn good barbecue, that is an amazing thing. And it brings me to my next point, which is you never opened a second location, did you?
yeah. Actually, my grandfather opened one when I was away at college. He
Oh, he
opened
did.
one in
Okay.
the Kansas side.
Oh, so he did. So there were two locations.
There was.
Oh, there was, but so now there's just one again?
It is, when it comes to location, it's got to make sense. So
Right.
my grandfather tried and tried and tried to buy that location. Like that is one thing I'll say about our original. He owns it outright. He made sure at the very beginning he owned it. So we were under the impression if we rent that location, we'd eventually get the opportunity to buy it. And yet every single year the rent kept increasing and it didn't
Mm.
seem like there was light at the end of the tunnel. So that actually wasn't it. And then fast forward back in 2019, my grandfather had made an agreement with the city of Grandview to open a location in Truman Corners. It went through multiple investors and didn't end up coming to fruition, but that was always my grandfather's goal was to have more than one location.
Tasha, you grew up around the pit, but when did you realize that barbecue wasn't just family history? It was something that one day you might carry forward. Like growing up when you're 12 years old and seeing the way that things get sauced, the way things like in a restaurant, like a French brigade system, you would do a stage and you would learn each station. And I read that you did learn every station in the restaurant. So can you tell us about that?
I did. My grandfather started me at the cash register, which was the prize position because you are the first and sometimes the last face of the customer. My grandfather was a firm believer in every customer that walked through that door was his family. And he'd sit there and talk to his family for hours, his whole life. And so as I grew to be an expert at one position, then I got to learn expo. Okay, so you're the person that's responsible for making sure the correct sides and the correct orders go out. And then it got to, well, now that you've mastered those two, well, let me teach you the line. Let me teach you how to correctly slice, how to correctly put the correct amount of portions, how to correctly sauce it, how to put it in to-go boxes or here. And then last but not least was the beast of the pit. I could probably barely see to the top of the second tier when my grandfather said, okay, here is the correct way, here is the timing, here's how long you have to put beef on, here is the correct side to cook beef on, here's our seasonings, here's how we do our other products. It was all in his head to make sure that I was an expert in every single station, which at the time it didn't mean anything to me. But when I went away to college, and he started talking about numbers and revenues and profits and growth and all that good stuff. It all hit me full fledged. Like he wanted me to be able to run the front of the house and the back of the house.
I see
Yeah.
that you still have a place for your grandfather, his office that you have at the restaurant. And I was reading where he would take every single um, review to heart, whether the 5-star review or even a lowly, 1-star review, which I doubt you got very many of, but he answered them all the time, didn't he?
He did. He was, again, those were his family. My grandfather believed in the community. He believed in his customers. He believed every single person that walked through that door that supported his business was a part of his heart.
Hmm. And he grew up in Mississippi, I believe, correct?
Yes, Edwards, Mississippi.
Uh-huh. And then he made his way onto why did he go to Kansas City? I mean, I know the barbecue capital of the world, but what made him come north to Kansas City?
I asked him that, and he said it was somewhere that he just drew on a map, and he was like, hey, well, I'm going to go here. And he ended up coming to Kansas City when he was 18.
Ah, he had a calling.
It must have been.
But what's amazing about your grandfather, first of all, some of the things you find about him, it's just unbelievable. He got his his first, I guess, introduction to making money. He picked cotton.
He did.
He he grew his own cotton. He
He
picked his
did.
own cotton. He
He had
sold
it.
it. It
He
was
did.
his business, and that, yeah,
Entrepreneur at a very young
right,
age. It was
yeah.
in his heart and his soul.
But then, what people should know is he did not open his barbecue restaurant till he was 52 years old.
That is correct. He had a full-fledged career at Farmland Foods, where he worked a whole career and retired. And then after he retired, he went to his passion.
Yeah, and he, yeah, he made a great thing from it. But that is 52. I mean,
Mhm. 52.
that that is amazing. Now you are his granddaughter, so as I'm reading all of this and I'm learning about you and your grandfather, I'm wondering what was before you. And I don't mean to get too personal, but I don't know the answer. You are the granddaughter.
Mhm.
Did either of your parents want to uh, run the restaurant? I don't know anything about your family history, so
I don't know if they did or not, but my grandfather is the smartest man I've ever met in my life.
hmm
And if it was something that he wanted, he made sure it happened. And I will say, my entire life, my grandfather made sure that I understood the numbers. He understood that I could process payroll. He understood that I could do our monthly and quarterly taxes. He always knew that I was very analytical. I enjoyed that part. That was my love. That was my passion,
right.
hiring people, recruiting. He always wanted me to do that part. So I think it was a no brainer for him. And so after he passed away and I found out he left the restaurant to a trust and made me that trustee of that trust without talking to me, I had very long conversations with my grandfather quite regularly. But again, he was the smartest man I knew. So if he had something in his mind, that is the way that it should be.
Gotcha.
When we rolled into Kansas City and we hustled over to LC's, Tasha was outside. I don't know. She was getting ready for like some sort of a catering. The smell of the moneymaker pit was drawing us in, and it smelled so heavenly. But the first thing I noticed when I walked in was the sense of community. And LC's barbecue, from everything I've read, it's often described as a small, no frills type of place. When someone walks in for the first time, what do you hope that they immediately feel, Tasha? I mean, because I could tell you, I felt like I was walking into like just the friendliest people in the community and recommending foods and the smell and the pit. I mean, it was an amazing experience to have firsthand as my first time there. But what do you hope that people's experience feels like?
I mean, I hope when they walk in, they feel that there is a Kansas City staple that they just walked into. We have people that have hundreds of choices. When you came to visit us, when you were in town for the American Royal Barbecue, you could have went anywhere. And when you came in, we actually had some of the judges there for the American Royal Barbecue that had already previously reached out and was like, hey, we want to stop at LC's. We want to make sure that you're there. And I'm like, I'm there most evenings, but I feel like when they walk in, they need to understand what they're coming for. You're not coming for ambiance. You're not coming for fancy plates. You're not coming for pretty plates. You're coming for some good down home barbecue. Kansas City barbecue. That's what I want you to come in that door looking for. Now, once you come in that door, I want you to feel like you're a part of our family. As soon as you walk in that door and are looking at the menu, I want you to feel like you can ask us questions. You can ask us about our product and we're the subject matter experts. I want you to be able to either take it to go or sit in our establishment and enjoy your food. I just want the experience to be a memorable one.
Bernetta McKendry was there, Brian C. I mean, you're talking about legendary barbecue people in a legendary place
Yeah.
giving me recommendations. You got to get the burnt ends. You got to get the fries. You got to get the ribs. I mean, we took these back to our hotel and we had a whole buffet of barbecue. And let me tell you, I'm dreaming about those ribs. I'm so happy that I was able to pick up LC's sauce and your rub, and it's phenomenal. And as a follow up question to that, I meant talking about your sauce. What do you know was your grandfather's flavor profile? Like, what do did you guys ever discuss like his feelings about the sauce or what he was going for as a profile?
We didn't discuss what he was going for, but at a very, very young age, he made sure that I could make that sauce from scratch. When my grandfather started, we didn't have distributors that were mass producing our sauce. And to be honest, we still make our own sauce in-house for our restaurant. Now, we do use a distributor for bottles because we're in over 100 stores. But when you come into LC's, you know that that sauce that you're getting on your food, it was made in-house. He used to make me test him. Like he would make me make the sauce and he would tell me intentionally leave out one ingredient. No matter what ingredient I left out, every single time my grandfather would hit it on the head so quickly. Now, I am not that good. Now, he tested me and I could tell him it wasn't the right sauce. I was like, hey, you're missing something. I could never tell him what the one ingredient is, but I've eaten it enough in my life, like I know. So when we went to a distributor and they made it, I was the first one. He was like, hey, test this and tell me how it tastes. I can tell you if it was missing anything. I can tell you if it was the right mixture of ingredients and water. I can tell you if the thickness was there. I can tell you if the taste was there. So I would say he knew what he wanted, but my entire life, my grandfather has done all the cooking in my family, whether it's just for us getting together on a Sunday or for a major holiday. My grandfather was always the cook. So he made sure me and his other grandkids and his daughter, and I would even say my son, because my son was 18 when my grandfather passed away. He knows how to cook. My grandfather made sure we could all fend for ourselves, and we knew what products to cook and what seasoning to go and how to cook them. When you talk about that pit is fired up for, like you said, Monday through Saturday, and our pitmaster gets there at 8 a.m. and that fire gets pulled out at 8 p.m. So 6 days a week for 12 hours, everyone gets to enjoy that flavor that has been on that pit for year after year after year. So it's important that I understand what his vision was, but I don't need to know why he wanted it to be that vision, if it makes sense.
Tasha, you say when people come into the restaurant, they're like family, and I can tell with your infectious smile why that is. This year is going to be the 40th anniversary of the opening of LC's Barbecue. Do you have anything special planned for that anniversary?
Every day is a good day, and I'm thankful for every day. I'm thankful for my grandfather instilling his work ethic in me. I'm thankful for him instilling his knowledge so that when he did leave, the community didn't skip a beat. It's still the same product. It tastes the same. It's seasoned the same. It's flavored the same. I'm thankful every single day.
Hmm.
Tasha, you mentioned the sauce, and I know that your grandfather and the restaurant famous for the sauce.
Yeah.
Chef Ray is, Raichi and Chef Ray. That's his. He has a sauce company,
Yeah.
so it is an honor, I'm sure, to be with you, who your sauce is unbelievable and famous, and but Ray is definitely working to also make it in the sauce and rub business with it with an incredible sauce as well. So it's very nice to have you both with us tonight, who are both doing great things in barbecue. But you are our guest, so if I come into your if I come into your restaurant, make me the perfect tray, please. What would be on that tray?
I am going to go with our mixed plate. It comes with a long end of ribs, so you get to taste our amazing St. Louis ribs. Um, it comes with two meats and any side. So for my meats, I am going with beef burn-ins,
Mm,
and I'm going with turkey. Our turkey is
really?
so juicy and flavorful. I almost went with the wings because they're really, really popular, but I'm going to nudge it out with turkey. And
Okay.
for our side, I am going to go with our homemade baked beans because they are the trifecta.
Yeah, those the meat and the
Yeah.
sauce in the
Yes.
beans. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to get those. But you know what, Tasha, I know you gave me a full plate, but I can eat a lot. So I want to order a couple more things. Like a couple more sides. What are some of the other sides that you have?
Definitely going with the French fries. They're homemade.
Mm.
They're popular. I'd say they're probably neck and neck with number one and number two, neck and neck for beans and fries. And then I am going to go with our sides are so good. I mean, we offer poppers, we offer onion rings, we offer okra, we
I'll take
spicy
them
green
all.
beans. I'm gonna
I'll
go with
take them
spicy green
all.
beans.
Spicy
I'm gonna
green.
go with
Okay.
coleslaw, potato salad. You name it.
You
We,
know what? Fill it
yeah,
up. Okay. I've got to feed Jeff and Ray, and I'm
everybody.
sure, and there might be a few other people in the restaurant that we've made
Yeah,
friends with online.
yeah.
So just let's get a whole. Let's just. I mean, Ray, you ate there. You were fortunate
Oh my
to
God,
eat there.
it
What
was
what was
amazing.
the best bite you had?
The ribs. I mean, I didn't even have to hesitate. I was like, the ribs, the ribs, the ribs. I could. They had a nice smoke flavor, but she used the smoke like a seasoning, like salt and pepper, like an expert, like a legendary pitmaster. And they had just a little bit of char on them, and the meat was so tender. I just wish I had a rack right now. They were, I mean, really, I mean, I'm not just saying this because she's on. I mean, it was amazing. It was like, we were very fortunate that the places we went to were good. These ribs happen to be exceptional. They happen to be fantastic.
Really?
And being able to, get in a little bit of sauce, but like there wasn't too much of any one thing. But in barbecue, you become legendary by learning how to layer flavors, learning how to layer, without doing too much of one and balancing it. And LCs, they get it right. And let me tell you, and the customer service also on point because you know, I'm a guy, from New Jersey. I show up in Kansas City on Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. The place has bars on the windows, and everyone is just so friendly and made us feel welcome and told us everything about the food that we could possibly want to know. Like, it's intimidating going to a legendary barbecue place. It's intimidating not knowing what the menu is or what the protocol is. When you go to places in New York, they'll eat you alive. In Kansas City, we were welcomed with open arms at Tasha's place, at Elsie's barbecue. We were welcome. We were told everything that we could possibly want to know about the food. The descriptions were accurate. It was, I mean, if you're in the Kansas City area, and even if you're not, make it a point to go there. Really, that one of the things I wanted to ask Tasha was, you grew up around these recipes, preparing them since you were not even a teen. So, how when the time came for you to take it over, and this was left to you in the trust, And once you got over that emotion of like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm going to take over this restaurant. How did you decide what recipes I'm going to keep, uh, if not all, or how am I going to change? Were there things that you changed behind the scenes that a customer may not realize? Did you add new recipes? All that. So,
I think it was all strategic moves. So, first and foremost, most important goal was to make sure our product was exactly the same. My grandfather spent days sitting in that chair for 10, 11, 12 hours a day. That was his passion, to make sure everything was good. So I wanted to make sure the product was consistent. And then I needed to make some difficult decisions for the betterment, I thought, of the employees. My grandfather was open Monday through Saturday. Then he was also open every Sunday Royals game and every Sunday Chiefs game. I decided immediately that we were going to close on Sundays, not because it was bad money, but because with the equipment, I already noticed immediately that the equipment needed some attention. And I also put some focus on our employees. Working 7 days a week is brutal. I mean, those guys were working 45, 48, 50 hours a week. I mean, that's brutal on somebody's ability to provide good service and good products. So I made a very difficult decision to close down on Sundays. And I know it's probably still to this day, probably questioned by a lot, but at some point as a business owner, it is my priority to protect the well-being of our equipment and our employees so that the product can be consistent. The third most important thing I did was my grandfather was making his sauce in bottles. The very first thing I did was find a distributor that could make it in plastic, which caused me to change distributors. So I don't think anybody has noticed, but when you take a big move like that and you shoot your shot, you're starting from scratch. So I spent a lot of time with that vendor to make sure that our sauce was spot on every single time, because when you start, I really wish the vendor that my grandfather had used for 20 years could switch us over to plastic, but he just said he didn't believe in plastic, and all of his customers use glass. And we were shipping hundreds of cases, and out of those hundreds of cases, half of them were coming back damaged with glass. It was just too popular. Our sauce goes all over the world. And so starting over with a new vendor, it was a very difficult decision, but it has paid off. So I'd say most people say our sauce, they didn't know we switched providers, our distributor and our manufacturer, but that was a big move on my part.
that is a big move. I can tell you, I switched. I'm on my third one now, and each time it's giving birth all over again,
Yeah.
and trying to remain consistent. And I struggled with the glass versus plastic as well, because when you start getting into stores, you have to sign things with distributors that if it breaks for no reason, or if they return it or whatever, you
You.
buy it back.
Yeah.
So if it breaks because it's glass, that is an issue, and then for shipping. But it seems like the customers really responded well because you were on top of it, and when you do make that switch, it is something that you have to be on top of. One thing I did realize, though, after switching on to my third distribute bottler, is there's going to be some differences that are like splitting hairs that you will always notice, but your customers may not notice. And that was something that was hard for me to deal with because, like you, I want it to be perfect every time. I want that level of consistency. So
Yeah.
it took to the 18th hour to get there, and I'm sure for you as well, because you
Oof.
have a fantastic product. Your sauce, I'm a sauce guy. Artie Davis, if you've ever met him, I'm sure he's probably been in your place a million times, and he's a sauce guy as well. We've had these discussions, and
Yeah.
there is definitely a place at the table for sauce, especially at LC's barbecue. It's really delicious.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And honestly, it comes down to like the different temperature and cooling. Like that's what it came down to with glass versus bottle. I think I was like, well, hold on, is that going to affect the outcome? But we spent hours on top of hours on top of hours on the process. And we had multiple trial runs before I was like, hey, this is it. But it takes commitment by both parties, because manufacturers, you're not just the only thing they manufacture hundreds. So in order for the commitment to be there, we both committed time. But you're right, the smallest thing, as small as the temperature that you can cool, compared to glass and plastic and how that settles the product. I mean, it's the minor thing, but we finally got it spot on. But it took commitment by us both, I'll tell you. But in in the long run, we have way more orders online. We have I haven't had a damaged product come back in years. So the revenue, the ROI on that alone was there. And then the relationship is there because, then we get to talk about what else we want to do with the product. Can we make it smaller? Can we make it bigger? Now that we're on the other side of the airport, you know what? We don't need to make it smaller now. We don't need it to be in a 4 ounce thing. So just the sky was the limit there. But I attribute my grandfather just making sure that I had the business aspect covered. If nothing else, he was like, "I'll be the face, I'll be the interviews. You just be the brains," and I was happy with that.
I think your grandfather might have had a premonition that you were going to take over the business because reading about you, you gave up your teenage years and your friends going to football games and things like that to work in the restaurant, and he must have known that Tasha is the one who's going to take over. He must have had
You
that
know,
premonition.
he probably did, but you know what? In every step of my life, it got me an academic and an athletic scholarship. I gave 100% to everything I put effort in. So he touched me in more than just my business aspect. He shaped me to be the person that I am, like personality wise.
hmm You mentioned that he opened on Sundays when they had ball games near the restaurant. We're
Yeah.
baseball and barbecue. Do you know of any of the athletes that came into to your place?
Oh, we get a ton. Matter of fact, the Royals are coming next week. Every year they bring every single one of their employees into the restaurant. We open it up for a 3 hour window and everybody gets to come and show their Royals badge and they get to eat. And that's a partnership we've had. We've been in their little ad thing that they've done for most of my life. So it's definitely a good partnership. And even if we miss that Sunday, the Royals play Monday through Saturday too. So we're always getting business on those other days.
And one other thing, we have had the pleasure, Leonard and I had the pleasure of meeting Bob Kendrick of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. And I was wondering if he ever has been into your place because he said he doesn't barbecue because when you're in Kansas City, he doesn't need a barbecue.
He has.
Uh,
We've got Royals players, Chiefs players. We have famous people. Aerosmith came. I mean, you name it. And we've had some very, very famous people bless us with
mhm.
their presence to get some of that good Kansas City barbecue from Elsie's.
And Jeff was talking about how you gave up your teenage years and all of that, and you, I mean, basically your young adult life. You have it's a planning stage for working there, and now, of course, owning it. You even took business classes at college with the intent that what you learned is going to help with the restaurant.
Oh, absolutely. My grandfather was paying thousands of dollars for CPAs to do his taxes or, an accountant to do his payroll. Or he was doing a third party vendor for his posting of his jobs and his recruiting. I already knew I was bringing that all in house. I knew it at a very young age that I was going to save him hundreds of thousands just by being able to do everything ourselves.
So you do everything yourself, but now you mentioned your son. Does your son like to cook? Does he help out at the restaurant? Do you have other family members? Like, is it besides Tasha, right? Because I mean, you are the leader of this LCs now, but you can't possibly do it all. I mean, making all those wonderful sides and make it firing up the pit and closing down the pit. So does he help, or do you have other family members that still continue to help?
My son just graduated from KU in May of 24. He got his bachelor's degree in business management.
Go
And at
Jayhawks.
that point, yeah, rock chalk. He said, "Listen, Mom, I want to come help at the business." And actually, it was a surprise. I mean, for his whole life, he said he wanted to do his own thing. He wanted to form his own name. He didn't have any interest in the restaurant. And now, I mean, my son closes the restaurant. He does the inventory for the restaurant. He's got the relationship with the workers. And that's tough. Some of our guys are 50, 60. He just turned 23 last month. So I thought it was going to be a little adjustment coming in and knowing who he was, but he's got the personality, he's got the customer service, he's got the want and the drive. So I'm happy to let my son take some stuff off my plate. I told him he should start doing the interviews. He's like, I'm
Well,
not ready for that, but he actually helps out in way more than I would have thought since he graduated. But every employee there is my family. Everybody that comes to work every day to make sure that we give good product and give good customer service, they're my family.
So Tasha, you said that you like everything being consistent, everything tasting the same, and everything which way it's supposed to be. So how is your relationship with your distributors, your meat providers? I mean, you have the same ones for pork and turkey and so on.
I've used the same two vendors that my grandfather used my whole life. And I've had so many other vendors try to get me to change, but the mountains that my vendors remove for me if I need something is unmeasurable because of my grandfather and his connection to them. So that's one thing I did not change. Even if the price is better at another vendor, I stuck with exactly what he had because it works.
That's a great business relationship, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it is. It's priceless,
Yes.
actually.
Tasha, you're in the position now where your restaurant, Kansas City barbecue in general, is become a tourist attraction.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
people come to Kansas City whether they go into a football game, baseball game, going on a barbecue tour, because that's what they do, and it's such a part of Kansas City. But you have, as I said before, you've risen. You're at the top, which means in Kansas City, I saw on the internet, there's a lot of media on you. So you're doing interviews, you're doing podcasts. I'd like to think that we're the only podcast that ever contacted you, but I know that's not the case. So, we're the only baseball and barbecue podcast that ever
You are.
contacted you. Okay. Um, but through, I saw there were news stories, there's all sorts of media. How do you handle all that? Because you are, as they say, you are the cook, the bottle washer, the candle maker, the cleaner. I mean, you do it all, and and to also do the publicity, which there is more than your average barbecue place.
Yes. That is something my grandfather loved. He loved interviews. He loved podcasts. He loved stories. Like my whole life, just to see him shine when he saw his face on an article or a newspaper or the internet, that was his love. Me, I actually limit mine. When I took over, I did the yearly interview with Quentin Lucas to wager barbecue
Mm-hmm.
for the AFC playoff games because we barbecue and football goes together just like barbecue and baseball.
Right.
um and then I find myself doing like very small. Like when Chef Ray said, "Hey, baseball and barbecue," he touched me enough to make me say, "You know what? I don't really do podcasts, but I'm going to do your podcast," because he told me the meaning behind it. He told me the reasons and the whys. But if I spent all the time doing all the interviews, like I can go through my email now, I have 10 people in my inbox saying, "Hey, we want to interview you for the World Cup. Hey, we want to interview about the Chiefs changing locations. Hey, we want to interview you for Black History." I can't do all the interviews. If I did all the interviews, I couldn't focus on the business. So I really limit the amount of interviews I do because we don't really need the exposure. Like our customers have been coming, some of them is longer than I've been alive. So I'm okay with keeping what we got going, but if it makes sense for me to do it, I do it. But I'd much rather be the one that's doing the stuff like behind the scenes rather than in front of the cameras.
Well, we are extremely fortunate then, and we we can't tell you how much we appreciate this because hearing that now makes us, we are just another sappage of your time, and
It's a good cause.
but and thank you for saying that. But we really are appreciative. So I will just say how much I've enjoyed having you on. I will also say that the next time we're in Kansas City, thank you. The next time we're in Kansas City, if we don't stop at LC's barbecue, we have to have our heads examined. I mean, we we kind of didn't plan well. We went to Kansas City. I mean, we did it for our 200th episode. We went to the
Nice.
stadium. We went to the Negro Leagues Museum. Met with Bob Kendrick, and we walked around Kansas City, and we did some barbecue, and we went to a couple of places that are well known, but we did not come to you. We fall upon the swords. We bow to you and say, please, we're not worthy, but give us another chance. We'll be back. And when we
Yes.
do, we will come visit. Thank you so much for being with us. I am going to hand it off to Ray, who is not only he throws out the first pitch, but he's going to pitch a complete game. So he's going to close it out by throwing the last pitch.
Yes,
And
sir.
just again, thank you, Tasha. You have been terrific. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I look forward to meeting you in the future.
Thank you.
You guys should also check out the barbecue museum. It is phenomenal.
Yep, we plan on
Yeah.
doing
I
it
was
as well.
there. They carry my sauce there.
Yes,
And my cookbook, and I believe they carry LC's barbecue
they
sauce
do. They
and
carry our
rub
sauce and a rub, and
and
I got
rub.
both your sauce and your cookbook when I was there last time.
Ah, you did. Thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much. I appreciate
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
I do make a Kansas City sauce. They didn't order that, but I'm just saying. I'll have to send you a bottle so you could try it. And
Please do.
it's more of an updated version. It's not like traditionally Kansas City barbecue sauce. We were talking about like with Henry Perry's and more of a kick to it.
Yeah.
Mine is a little more like a little richer, a little sweeter,
Yeah.
with a little bit of background to it without being overly sweet. But anyway, uh, I want to ask you. I have a two-parter.
Yeah.
Tasha is in demand. LC's barbecue is super in demand. Way back in 2012, Anthony Bourdain stopped in to LC's barbecue for
He
no
did.
reservations.
He did.
Anthony Bourdain,
I
who
know.
like finds they're calling a hidden gem. I mean, they've been feeding Kansas Cityans for close to 40 years, keeping the city running. So LC's was featured on No Reservations, and I got to know what that moment meant for the restaurant and for your family. Did the national attention change anything day to day? Or did the restaurant stay exactly the same? What was it like experiencing that?
That was a game changer for my grandfather. Like his worth, his self-worth, all of his hard work, all of his dedication, at that moment he knew. He knew it was all worth it. Even starting over in his 50s, from everything that he went to, from his cotton field to farmland to everything in between to where he ended. When that happened in his life, my grandfather's smile was the biggest that I've ever seen in my entire life. And he's hit some really big milestones. But that accolades, it didn't make him change anything, but it made him want to touch way more people. He felt like that moment said, hey, you have what it takes to change people's lives and how they view the Kansas City barbecue capital of the world. It just made him want to reach even further.
I mean, it's validation. He's at that time, it's the best of the best.
Yeah,
It's
it
not like
was.
the best barbecue in New Jersey. No offense, Jersey, but it's the best of the best.
Yeah.
So that's great. So the other thing, just to wrap it up, I wanted to ask you, uh, if your grandfather were standing beside you during your day or following you around the restaurant, it's a busy game day rush. You're, doing interviews, you're waiting on customers. What would you hope that he would notice first, and what would he say to you?
The customer service. He wants to make sure that it's always there and it's always the best. He wants to make sure that everybody that walks in that door feels like family when they leave. That's what his the bigger picture for him is. He sat there and he talked to his customers for hours every day. And after he passed away, I listened to hundreds of stories about what they talked about and how many stories they heard and how many times they went fishing and how many times they went hunting and how many times he helped them. It's just family. He'd be in my ear saying, everyone's family, everyone's family. That's what he'd be saying.
Well, and that's great. And the next generation potentially, with your son being in the restaurant, Could that be a thing? I mean, he's got an insanely amazing, great role model. So,
You know, it is a thing, but I would say I've always been more focused on the analytical, like numbers, making sure consistency's there. My son is way more like my grandfather. He was the spirit. He was the lion spirit. He was the gatekeeper of all of the good feels. My son has that a lot more in him than I thought.
one of the things that I learned over my time working in restaurants is, it takes all that. It takes a village. It's not one person. Certainly, you had to have LC, but without the surrounding cast, without you, and without everyone else, like it takes everyone's effort. And your grandfather at 52 to start this, it's like he's an overnight success.
Yeah,
No, he worked for it. Now it's like reaping those rewards, but it's all those years of hard work and everyone working together. you
it
know we're
definitely paid off.
we're stronger together, so
One team, one dream.
that's it.
Well, Tasha, thank you very much for being on Baseball and BBQ. You want to give us your social media so people can find you?
Absolutely. You can check us out on Facebook at LC's Barbecue. You can check us out on Insta at LCSBBQ. And you can check out our website for all of our sauce and seasoning and shirts at lcsbarbq.com.
Well, absolutely. Everybody go there, get the sauces, and rub. They are just, as Chef Ray said, they're just terrific. And we look forward to having you on again and visiting the restaurant as soon as we can. Thank you very much, Tasha.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.